Day 4, Maundus, 1st of Frostfall. It's been 4 days now, and the taste of Asterbloom cores with smoked ballywog and alocasia is starting to become a little sour. When I started studying the Daedra Lords for Fudge Muppet, I'd been so focused on unearthing their secrets to share with my fellow mortals, that I totally neglected to think on the consequences. It appears that Sheogorath unsurprisingly was the prince to capitalise on my laxity. Without my knowledge, he managed to goad me into taking up residence in his realm. I'd been reading a long tome on his realm of oblivion, trying to visualise how it would look in my head. But before I knew it, I was there for real. My imaginings had become tangible. Today I end my lodgings at the Choosy Beggar and set off to find a way out of here. In Bliss's main square, the Golden Saint Guard is anything but accommodating. She looks at me like I'm mad, and I guess rightly so. Bliss is coined to be the cheery half of New Sheoth, but the babbling insanity of those who call Bliss home make it more disconcerting than lively. I thought maybe a change of perspective would help, so I quickly made my way through the gate to Crucible, Bliss's equal opposite. Here, only a stone's throw from Bliss, the air feels colder, as if the morning's light has been locked out by the collective depression of the district's inhabitants. The Dark Seducers act as the resident guards here, yet their protection does very little to fend off the overwhelming sense of paranoia emanating from the locals. Thus far, I've just about made it across town without spoiling my boots in the river of sludge. Pools of detritus fill every crevice like gelatinous soups of liquid pollution, making Crucible a breeding ground for grime and fungus. With a handkerchief to my nose, I leave this place before I become the host to some exotic parasite. Leaving Bliss was necessary, but so far it's achieved little more for me than a depressed mood and soaking wet clothes. I'm on the low road now, and from what I hear this leads to the Fringe. Long ago, 2 centuries to be precise, the champion of Cyrodiil entered the Shivering Isles from a gate in the Fringe. Perhaps that'll be my best hope of escape. On my right, flanked by 2 putrid Giganteospores, there is a graveyard. Many speculate that the Shivering Isles is an afterlife, as realms of oblivion tend to be for Daedra worshippers. Take Hircine's hunting grounds or Molag Bal's Cold Harbour for example, where creatures are promised an eternity of hunting in Hircine's realm when they die, and all vampires enter Bal's domain when they're slain. It stands to reason that some would speculate the same thing about Sheogorath. But if you watch my recent video on him, you know, the one that got me stuck here, you'll know that entering the madhouse is the result of the Prince of Madness luring you in. Insanity is a requirement for entry, there's no mention of death. And the presence of this graveyard makes me think the inhabitants of this realm are in fact living. But ultimately, Sheogorath makes up the rules here. He could force the dying to come back to life in his realm. He could bury them here if he is fond of them and wants to give them their rest. Or he could do much worse, as I'm sure we'll see firsthand very soon. A short distance ahead, a fork in the road leads us to the Hill of Suicides. Here Sheogorath has punished those who tried to find a respite from his loony realm. But the Prince of Madness doesn't take kindly to quitters, it seems, for the souls who opted into his game cannot simply opt out. The souls here wander eternally, caught like flies in a web. Only this web is the eternal fog of dementia, with nothing but the constant undulation of the bogs and the stench of noisome ballywogs to keep your senses occupied. The souls here beckon me to come closer, to help them, but what can I do? I'm a daedrologist, not a mystic. I quickly return to the road, lest I run astray in the marshes, or I become crippled by the guilt of leaving those tortured souls alone. The teal-stained clouds didn't move an inch as I continued towards the gates of madness. Day 5, Turdus, 2nd of Frostfall. Disaster! I write this entry with a bandaged arm. I attempted to pass through the gates of madness, but the gatekeeper was a monstrous flesh atronach, twice the size of any man. I thank the divines I made it back to Dementia alive. I never thought I'd be so pleased to see this gloomy place again. Maybe the secret to my escape lies in Mania. I have no disillusions about Mania being a safe place, but one thing's for sure, the Overlook Road is a much more pleasant path to travel than the Low Road. The omnicoloured flora is a nice change too. I ate alocasia fruit in the Choosy Beggar for 3 full days, and now I'm seeing them grow in the wilds of Mania. Thus far, my search for an escape has been fruitless. Fortunately, I found a spot to camp for the night, on the quaint little isle just north of Split. Day 6, Midas, 3rd of Frostfall. Things have gone from bad to worse. Grummites came in the night and robbed me. They took everything but my journal and pen. Thankfully they aren't literate, and none of them thought it was necessary to start their own diary. They even somehow stole my bedroll. How did I not wake up? What would a goblin want with a bedroll? It feels more like a sick joke than a good score on their part. Day 501, Maundus, 21st of First Seed. I see the walls of Mania before me. What I would give to spend a night back at the Choosy Beggar. Were I to enter the city, I'd be drawn and quartered. Not that I've committed any egregious crimes, but simply because I didn't pack a razor. I have a beard now, and the laws of the Shivering Isles dictate that no man but Sheogorath himself may grow a beard. I think there's only one thing left to do, but when I do it, I'll be condemned to live eternally at the Hill of Suicides. Perhaps I should introduce myself to the current inhabitants before I decide whether to join them. Alas, the restless souls will not speak with me. It feels like forever ago, but I'm sure I had read a scroll in the archives about how to release the souls from this hill. What did it say? Use your head, Drew. Oh wait, my head, of course. To free a soul from the Hill of Suicides, one must return the skull of the cursed soul to them. What's a few more days of adventuring the Isles? Day 505, Fredus, 25th of First Seed. The souls of the hill have been freed, and now I have the place to myself. I can't tell if that's an improvement. I wonder why reuniting the restless soul with the skull is enough to free them. Knowing the answer to that could possibly justify the time I've spent trapped. It would be a great thing to add to my findings on the Daedra Lords. The Shivering Isles is the destination for those lured by the Prince of Madness. It is a requirement for entry that the traveller has completely lost their mind. There are exceptions to every rule, and the Champion of Cyrodiil gained access with his sanity intact, but that was only after slaying the Gatekeeper. I was granted entry freely, so I can't be sane. The same thing goes for the souls I just liberated. What if reuniting the soul, or the wandering essence of the restless broken mind, with the head is the key to freeing oneself from Sheogorath's grasp? To gain entry you must lose your mind. To escape, you must find it again. The mind and the head brought together once more. The soft breeze susurrating through the trees suddenly ceased. I jerked upright, as if woken from a nightmare. I'm free. Day 506, Wednesday, 3rd of October. I think it's time to give up Daedrology. No amount of like button smashing is worth becoming a Daedric Prince's slave. And I'm exhausted. Sleep embraced me almost instantly, and the dream came to me as soon as my eyelids closed. I am ensnared in a silk cocoon, suspended high above the world in near darkness. Only the twilight of the two moons allowed me to see the intricate web stretching across the sky in all directions. The cocoon began at my feet, and a steady stream of silk is working its way up my body. The lustrous tendrils span their way up my chest to my throat, encasing me, choking me. The effect was hypnotizing and petrifying simultaneously. All around me I heard the skittering of tiny insectile legs, closing in with frenetic haste. And then came the whisper, a female voice, telling me I've forgotten something. I've left out a Daedric Prince, and she will not stand for being excluded. As the silk shell covered my vision, I caught a glimpse of the spinner, Mephala, the Prince of Lies and secret murder.